All right. Welcome everyone to the next episode of Full Circle. Here we are on the sub-series of the Corsace saga. So last time we covered the history of OHCs, OSSTs, blah 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 stuff right leading up to the rebrand. This time we're going to be covering the making of the one and only Corsace Open 2020. I'm Half Slash. I'm joined by Vinxis and Kite. How you guys doing?
Hey there. I'm fine, and you?
I'm doing great. I am ready to talk about Corsace Open 2020. There is a lot of excitement surrounding this tournament in particular. It's at least in terms of the community reactions, I have heard the most about this tournament. So that is something to note. Yeah. It definitely made an impact in history when people talk about, pools they liked or, experiences, blah blah blah. So, definitely a lot of good stuff worth talking about here. So,
Also, hi, I'm also here. I'm also streaming at the same time in case there's any scuffed stuff that happens, but don't worry about that.
dude,
I'll also be talking about the Corsace Open 2020 pools and the events that occurred to Corsace Open 2020 and the lack of Corsace Open 2019 uh, that occurred from it and the reason and everything like that as well.
the Kirito arc never ends for this guy, I swear.
I mean,
All right. Anyways, yeah, let's get into it. So, yeah, we first thing to mention here is what I like to call the full custom decision. So, we're years out at this point. But really what made Corsace Open 2020 stand out was it was the first tournament that ever set out to create fully custom map pools, because back then it's like, you saw people messing around with customs, but it was never anything large scale. It was, oh, someone wanted to meme and they were pooling, so they scrapped together some map to fill a slot, or 08 or OWC's large, like small scale experiment where they had about 10 custom maps to see how they would be received. Notably with stuff like gens to arms, etc., etc. And then there's the custom tiebreaker for OHC 2017, which that's it. We'll leave it at that. It existed, and that's all you need to know.
a
So
blunder.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we decide this?
Um, well, basically, I just remember Winxes asking me one day if I want to pull for Corsace, and I was like, yeah, sure. Pulling for OHC was fun, so I can do it again. But I wasn't really aware what I'm getting into at that point, because I only learned afterwards that it's gonna be a full custom map pool. So yeah, I was in for a ride at that point.
Yeah. So like in Corsair's Open 2018, and I think like in some of the editions of OHC before that as well, every single time in map pooling there was, especially in like OHC 2016 and like Corsair's Open 2018, there was a lot of conflict that was happening between the map poolers regarding like what maps to put in and how the map pool is going to be looking like and so on and so forth, some stuff like that. And a lot of the contention was coming on like the quality of the maps as well, and like which map would be better or which map would not be better. So an idea that I just randomly had, or I guess not randomly, but I mean an idea that I had coming out of that was basically that what if we just made every single map for the pool or something like that, because the maps that we kind of custom made for Courses Open 2018, it wasn't really like custom, it was like maps that were donated. Those actually worked out pretty well, I think, if I remember correctly. So I was like, maybe it's gonna work out at like a larger scale. Maybe it's gonna be better for the pools that way. So that was initially like the reason why I initially thought of trying to do like a full custom scale pool for Courses Open.
Damn. Basically, so maps right now suck. So we're going to make our own. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, basically. I mean, 2018. That's those are
The
like the
rapture.
years.
The rapture.
You know,
Yeah.
2016 to
Oh.
2018 was a very wild time, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
now that you mention it, I actually remember when we were pooling for OHC with Bowerman and Dada, I think at that time.
Yeah.
We had quite a lot
what?
of drama and discussions and what are we putting and why are we not putting this or that, and yeah.
Yeah,
I think
like
it's a good solution.
yeah, like when Dada and Bowman, I think those are like the main two that had like a lot of conflict going on. By the time when the tournament was like almost over, the morale was basically just gone completely, I think.
Dude, like, I'm sorry. Those names speak for themselves.
I
Like,
mean,
both of
yeah.
them are very dead set on what they want to achieve with pools, and so if they clash, they're taking the whole ship with it.
Yeah.
There's no meeting in the middle with these guys. It is war, so I can see that.
Yeah.
That's huge for morale. Wow. All right. Well, yeah. So, sometimes we do get the best decisions out of conflict, right? Because it's like if there wasn't so much tension and, the maps didn't suck or whatever, then there would have never been any sort of impetus to actually go in and, do this crazy thing. So, uh, at least we got something out of it. Yeah. And it's also worth noting, like, this was not this decision happened under these conditions from like the mapping quality perspective, but at least in the time this was also happening like from just like the selection perspective of you started to get like a bigger void between like what people were playing and what people were mapping. Mappers in general, like they weren't mapping high enough difficulty or ranking it or just getting the quality maps out there at the difficulty that you could actually sustain the ever increasing level of play. So I think like that's a perspective I heard when I talked to Fours about like what was going on at the time from his perspective. And I feel like it's kind of interesting how how the playing side and the mapping side kind of both agreed this is something we want to try. So
Oh yeah, that
good.
reminds me.
Yeah.
Another idea, like another reason for like doing like full custom mapping was like to try to like bridge the gap between like how mappers and players interact with the game in general. So you have less of that conflict that you usually see sometimes in like the community of like the mappers want this kind of thing and the players want this kind of thing. That was like another like slight reason of why I was thinking of doing full custom, but like I mean I don't know how well that worked out for that, but yeah.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of worked, I think, in my opinion. Like, we had some really good feedback on some maps from our playtesters at some point, but yeah, I actually think it worked out well.
Yeah, I think like especially when you can get into this more when you start talking about like the initial mappers and whatnot, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think like the like you had the cream of the crop when it came to mappers to start, which definitely led to some challenges, and honestly, that's a great segue into what I like to call the Corsace Open 2019 segment. So that is Corsace Open did not intend to actually be in 2020. We intended to have a 2019 iteration, but stuff happened. Things took longer than expected. And anyways, there was a lot of factors because it wasn't just like the mapping that was taking a while. It was also stuff on like the actual hosting side. So I guess you guys can both take this away. Both Vinxis, the ever host of Corsace, and then Kite, the head pooler for Corsace Open.
Yeah,
So
so like for like the hosting side, it was mainly actually just dev as as it always goes. For the most part, like in 2019, there was a huge blockage in the progress that was being made in terms of like hosting and stuff because my whole focus at the time was trying to finish MCA, the MCA website, and it was never getting finished, and there was also designs missing and everything and like that. And it was like by the end of the year or something like that, some of the designs were kind of there and some of the dev was kind of done, but it was a very slow progress at that year where nothing really got done on the dev side, and that basically held up everything regarding hosting for anything that happened in 2019, I think, for Corsace.
Yeah, actually, that was a good thing for me because at that time I was quite busy with school, and having it delayed actually worked in my favor. I know it kind of sucks in general, but I was at least happy that I didn't have that much time pressure to push out the pools at that time.
Yeah, that's a silver lining from it.
Yeah, and yeah, 2019 was just a bit of a rough point. But Omar, you can't tell me that MCA was the bottleneck here. MCA runs itself. Come on,
Oh my
man.
god.
Like
I wish.
that was just in case for the viewers that don't understand, that was the dominant meme about MCA in like 2016, 2017. In the early days, like we actually just made that joke. Like runs itself, lol.
Yeah. Oh, also that also ties in with why there was no MCA 2019 in 2020, I think. It was basically kind of like the same reason hosting wise because of the dev.
Always the dev, dude.
Yeah.
Well, not this year, but spoiler alert, right? All right, we're 3 years behind right now. Can't be talking about this year, you know.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, Kite. What can you tell us about the initial mapping team, the process, the sheets, blah blah blah? Anything about like setting out to do this, accomplish this, like at the time unthinkable goal?
Okay, yeah. So, as I mentioned, I kind of joined in blindly, not knowing what was really up to task at that point. And basically, I don't remember much about the very early stages, but I think it went something like this. Vinxes invited me into the server, and then we just kind of asked around for people that were interested in joining our project. We actually managed to get quite a few skillful mappers and well-known mappers, actually. Um, Maybe you could show the names at this point. Yeah. Basically, all the mappers that we gathered are for this project you can see on the screen right now. There are people like Real Lazy, Alchier, Yaspo, Ice Cult, Impure Pack. And man, it was actually so frustrating at first because we kept asking people and they were like, not sure, maybe, and nah, maybe not. But at some point, we had a pretty good core team of mappers established then in the channel. And afterwards, we kind of just, how should I mention this? Kind of just put our heads together and uh, gathered ideas of how we actually want to create the map pool. So not only did they help in making the maps, but they also helped in designing what we actually want to do for map pool. And maybe Winxes can also mention something because my memory is like really hazy at this point.
Oh my god, my memory is also hazy on this. I do remember that we tried to do some sort of wave-like setup or something to do like different maps, different mappers assigned like a different amount of time or whatever. And then we also like tried to do like the setup of like selecting the song and putting it in the sheet somewhere, and then uh, with that, yeah, this sheet right here.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember this one. We started trying to work on this and picked whichever songs we thought were like the best for the slot or something like that.
oh yeah, that's right. Like, so how we actually designed the map pools, after we gathered what kind of categories we want to run and what has to be in the categories, like for Hidden Free, for example, I specifically wanted, because people kept doing like AR8 at that time, I specifically wanted it to be called dense visuals because AR8 is dense visuals, but so can be a high BPM map on AR9, for example. So that was my point of view at that time.
Yo,
And basically, we kept discussing back and forth and came up with like what you can see on the left side, basically. For the no mod categories, hidden, hard rock, double time, and free mod. And after we established like the categories and what we want to do for them, we went ahead and made the sheet. And basically, at this point, people just try to visualize which song they want to put in which category and put it on the sheet. And afterwards, we listened through them together and decided, like, democratically, how which one would be the best pick. And we also like paid attention to the BPM and the length, so we don't have stuff that's 5 minutes long in no mod, for example. Yeah, it was quite a lengthy process, and it took a lot of time to set up initially. But I think towards the end, once half slash took over, basically it went a lot smoother.
Yeah, yeah. So process is always fun. There was a couple things to note here. I think that because like there's like there are obviously like there were some issues with the first process, but there was some charm and it came from a certain place. In particular, it really put a lot of the emphasis on mapper freedom. You know, you could pick whatever song, you come up with whatever ideas, and then just kind of go for it. You know, it's just like you talked among other people to make sure that your idea was actually, you know, gonna stand out and could be worth trying. You were able to go forward with it. And in general, like the format itself is pretty I'd say it's pretty freeform. So this was a older format, and came at a time that in the tournament community there was a ton of push towards a more standard format, right? So this format kind of feels a bit dated in that sense, especially compared to when it came out, but not exactly in the bad way. Just kind of it felt different. It felt yeah, it felt different because of how freeform it was, how little it focused specifically on trying to get the most specialized, purest representation of skills, etc., etc. So it had charm. It was a lot of overhead, but it has charm, and there were some advantages to it. When I transitioned over, it was I definitely got the process to a more mechanical point, and that helped us to finish it. But obviously, that comes with its own downsides, which I'll talk more about in a bit. Before we get into that, though, I want to talk much more about like some of these initial mappers, because I know that we there were a lot of mappers that we got, and then they just didn't make the cut, and they never ended up making anything. So
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
what's
that's true.
the what's the rationale behind some of those guys? Did they just kind of like say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do it," and then you know didn't deliver, or things happen, or what?
I mean, I think the issue was some people were really excited for the project when they first heard about it, but maybe I think partly I'm also to blame because I didn't quite take it as serious as I should have at that time. And I know at least from two people that they were disappointed with how it was run at the time. Um, but of course, not everyone was like that. For example, one name that catches my eye, for example, now is Sulfur. He actually finished the map in round of 32. And um, yeah, afterwards he was just like, "This is not really for me," and I can respect that. It's fine. Like he helped out, and that's more than we can ask for.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Sometimes like you can have the most generous process and most comfortable process, and at the end of the day still not like it, and that's okay. So all right, yeah. So, yeah, anyways, as alluded, there was a bit of a leadership changeover. Towards the end of 2019, I ended up taking over as the head pooler. So it was mainly because I had experience both with pooling in the past. I had pooled in the years like 2016 to 2018, more or less. So I had experience pooling before, and I had some org experience from running mentorship. So, and at the same time, tournament mapping was kind of like the passion that I didn't know I had until I realized, wait a second, this is actually why I started mapping. Because first completed map set I have uploaded right now is, it's like it's a low AR like hidden type thing. It was like meant for that. So it's just like I'm finally able to fuse the mapping experience that I'd gained up to this point with the initial reason of why I'd started mapping. So had a lot of personal motivation for going for this, and then I think I thought I had the experience and also the time to be able to take this on. So so that's kind of what led to that. The first thing I did is again, so Scub's got this comment here of like, why is the sheet black? And that was my first order of business. I had to get rid of the people that were frankly not useful. So we had a lot of like people that were contributing lots, but we also had a lot of people that they said they would do stuff, they'd been reminded to do stuff, and then they just were not delivering. But at the end of the day, by the time 2019 was over, we had 30 maps done, 30 to 40 maps, something like that, and we still had the next 120 asterisk. I'll get to that asterisk on 120 in a second. So. Yeah, it was a bit of a journey. So that was the first thing. It's like kick out the people that are not willing to participate. Second thing is bring in some new faces. So we had a couple new faces we brought in. I think I brought in Cubby, and then Cubby said, "Hey, we should get Panda in," and then Panda said we should get Melvoin in, and so got a lot of new faces like that. We brought in Takeki, Cindere, like a lot of the mappers that they were not as known at the time, but they were still very like they still knew what they were doing, and they were going to be what got us over the edge to finish maps. Actually, I think Zelk was part of that crowd as well. So we definitely needed a new wave of mappers after we essentially kicked out so many. So
I like how Yasuo did not tick the willing to map greater than one per round.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be fun one. Don't worry, we have stats for this. We have stats.
God.
Man, dude, Yasuo actually solo carried a few rounds.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
he did.
We got the numbers. Don't worry. We have the numbers to prove this. But yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, so that was the first thing. The second thing is I started to introduce much more deadline specific stuff. I started to be a lot more deliberate about filling the holes because I think like at the time, we had like this round of 32 pool kind of done, but we were not there yet on like round of 16 I think was the most empty when I started this, like obvious aside from maybe like the finals and grand finals, which were really hard to get through. But those were final pushes towards the end sorts of things. So I noticed though, since we started to make a lot of progress, like with new mappers, especially like going back to Cubby, for example. Cubby was in his mapping mode where he was like shitting out a map a day. So I think like over the span of 2 weeks, he finished like 5 maps or something. And, like we had to bin one of them, but like that was still like really good way to get the total up. So that happened. And also once we started having like these new people and maps getting finished, people started to really feel like there was a sense of progress again, and that actually raised our motivation. So and the fact that the tournament was actually going to happen, that was also pretty big for that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that's a good point you raised. Like, once you see shit is getting actually done, it's a big factor for the motivation. Like, I'm so thankful that you actually came along. Like, it actually saved my ass.
No problem. Like, trust me, I had a lot of fun with this. But yeah, so yeah, we got the morale up, and then it started to get closer that it's like, okay, yeah, we need pools, right? So we started to actually need to get the test players. So we had some test players, but overall like they were not like generally like they were involved on an as needed basis. Like you could pull them in sometimes, but they weren't there all the time. Like I remember we had like Tequila Wolf in the beginning, but Tequila Wolf was pretty busy. Same with like Eta, Karine, etc. Sheena ended up being invaluable, like especially if you've seen Sheena Noriko in a Taiwanese tournament or OWC, has been around a long time since the very beginning as a QA. There's some but overall we had to bring in some more people later. Some people not listed here, for example, like Idki was a big one, especially towards the end. Azer
Azer.
was big. Azer was huge. Yeah. AJT was huge. So we didn't just have test players, we also had advisors. So um the advisors really help us put into perspective of like what we were doing, because we were doing something new and we needed to make sure that it was not just going to be laughed out as unserious. So I brought in like people like AJT who had been actively pooling in the past couple of years, and I also brought in the one and only OMG4s to give his thoughts. And he pointed out stuff like the fact that the meta had shifted towards speed. So we kind of accounted for this in the initial pool, where we had like a speedy kind of map, but we didn't take it as seriously as, the speed meta that everyone knows about, 2020 to 2022 plus. So, and not only that, we only had 3 double times, but as you can see, we ended up having 4 double times in every pool. And the main thing we were missing in all of these pools was that like high BPM speed, the burst test sort of speed pick, which again also became pretty popular in this time. Pulling note here actually is that this was 2020, like this was still the time when people were trying to like make all of the DTs speed, because again there'd been such a lack of it for so long. It's not so it's pretty different from the current meta where DT4 is everything but speed, right? Like bit of a change there. But yeah, those advisors and test players really they grilled us. And what that did for the process, by the way, is I managed it kind of like this, where I had a copy of these like normal sheets, and I would kind of like take advisor feedback and summarize it for both the pools, and then I'd color code whether I was going to do something about it or not, pretty much. So I had like green stuff if I accepted it fully, yellow if I agreed but didn't want to do anything about it, and then I just didn't mark it if I wasn't going to take it. So I was doing all of this to kind of map the figure out like what we actually needed to change in some of these pools.
That's insane. I actually didn't even know that you did that.
Yeah, it was I was trying to figure out the system, so throwing a lot of stuff that may or may not have stuck. Speaking of stuff that
Yeah.
may or may not have stuck, I've got this pool progression tab here, where I was trying to really figure out like the formula, because this would lead more into the planning for Corsace Open 2021, because it's like, once you go full custom, you don't go back, especially not after what we later found was a reception, where it was received really well. So I was like, all right, really trying to break down what was going on with all the slots that we had, and like trying to map it to our pool so we could figure out like what was going on. So I had this kind of attempt at trying to break down the skills and then trying to map it to the things. Sounds familiar? I hope so, because we have a stream asset that depends on something kind of like this in this form. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So early groundworks. We've been playing around trying to figure out how to sort maps by skill sets for a long time now. It started back then too.
Wait, what's TFC?
It actually, so it stands for transitional finger control, which is a fancy way to say switching between different burst lengths. So if you're switching between triples to quints to singles to like quads to doubles to sevens, like if you're doing some crazy like burst shifting, it's referring to the idea that there's going to be an extra cost of like reading slash finger control that you have to pay to understand how to tap that. And usually this causes a lot of people to lose a lot more stamina when they're tapping. But this was the way that I first heard this concept described to me when I'd received Osu coaching back in like 2016 or whatever. There was a guy doing this stuff for free, so not like today where you actually can go get like a Osu lifestyle coach or whatever and buy one. But
Yeah, for $200.
yeah,
Oh,
look, I gotta respect the hustle. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true.
wait, are you telling me that's really a thing? Like, I've been away from O's like for a while now, and but damn, that's crazy.
Well, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not as
There's
big it's not as big now, but like it was bigger like I don't know 2 years ago or something.
Osu
One year ago.
University was peak marketing last year, I'd
Yeah,
say.
last year.
And then they had this coaching program where it's like you had like a top player and then they could show you around and it was look, I'm just saying, if you want that, you decide how to spend your money. That's all I'm saying.
That's true.
Yeah. So that was kind of what I was doing with the advisor test player stuff. And again, like we got modernized, like we added a DT slot, and we did have to change some stuff, which kind of leads me to the binning of maps. So not every map made it. And some of it was because people self-binned, like they got better at mapping and realized, hey, wait, this is actually a real thing. I'm gonna go and map. And then other times it was just maps that they did not fit the pool. Like there was one that Spartan made that I
Oh
remember.
yeah, I remember that one.
Actually there were two.
Mm,
We Spartan I'd say got a really short end of the stick when it came to these maps of like he had this rail map where it would have been a perfectly fine like fast aim jump map, but we changed the format such that we needed real speed picks, so we had to bin it. And then there was the I what was it? It was Wave, but I forgot what it was. It was like some low AR hidden thing. It was a memory
Wait.
map. It got called a memory map. That's what happened.
yeah, I
Oh,
remember. There was like one map he was really like not happy with the way it turned out. Like he was happy with it once he submitted it, but then we wanted to change it that much that he like I don't know. I don't want to say he became sad, but it kind of left the impression.
For sure. Yeah, so we definitely did have to make some decisions like that. Actually, also, so it's funny because you mentioned the donated maps concept. The donated maps concept, although it worked really well, I'm sure in 2018, it did not really work well here because once any if changes needed to be made to fit the pool, we couldn't use the map. And so that's what happened. We were not actually able to use any donated maps. I'm pretty sure. Like we had them, we tried to make them work, but at the end of the day, they just were not going to work.
Oh, yeah,
So
speaking of donated maps, I think also what a lot of people did, they like searched through their VIPs and then just submitted them to review if they could fit somewhere and if they want to finish them or not. So that was also kind of nice.
yeah, yeah, it was really nice when people were like, it helped us get off the ground. Like we didn't have to worry about that map until we were actually ready to worry about it, right? So it's like it's a lot harder to be picky about what can fit versus what can't fit when you're at 40 maps compared to when you're at 110, right? Like you're getting close to the end, just have to get that last push and then you're done, right? So, but yeah, so binning of maps definitely happened. And this was really when we started to consider just like every map we bin is like a failure, right? So we really started to take that seriously because it's like it sucks to bin maps. Like you're dealing with real people here. It's not like just binning something in a map pool normally. You have to like you're dealing someone made this, like somebody that you were working with this whole time made this map. They put their effort into it. They really did their best, and then sometimes you still have to bin it, and it's just like you really want to keep that stuff to it as minimal as possible. So we've gotten a lot better about this personally in Corsace, but it definitely took some time. And this was one of those places of we really ran into the wire on some of these. Like some of these we even had to bin maps like a week before it was showcase, and we were making maps up to the showcase. We speed map and crazy stuff. Like holy crap!
I remember that.
Oh god, yeah, because that test play advisor feedback. If anyone's ever like run a tournament or worked with stuff, we all know that test player feedback is like sometimes it doesn't come when you need it. Sometimes it takes a long time to get it together. Sometimes you really need everything else finished, and you cannot get any feedback until everything is done. And that pushes to the wire, and we didn't know how to manage that in 2020. It was the first time, so I ended up being that final push. So yeah. But yeah, we did make it through. Like that is the thing. We did finish. We did set out what we did. It took longer than we expected. It was harder than we expected. It took a lot of the people that put their all into it, but we got it done. And for that, I have some statistics to share. And maybe we can even link this in the description as a fun little sheet. But I put together some stats at the end, and I'd show these at the credits for Courses Open 2020, where I put some statistics together on contribution because it really needed to be shown of just like what kind of madness was going on here. So like people have memed the Yaspo No Mod 1, but holy shit, Yaspo put out this tournament. Like 15 maps for Corsace Open 2020 is nobody who's ever custom mapped will ever get anywhere near this kind of total. Mostly because the processes have been adjusted so that nobody has to be this insane for it to work, but also like that's a lot of dedication.
Yeah, he filled so many slots, and honestly, he was there from the beginning. That's insane.
Yeah, he was there in the beginning. He was like a constant. Like he was always there to make more maps. This format I think was really good for getting him out of because he loves to experiment and he could try everything. He could go and do no mod 1. Like we meme about it, but he went and got to try how to do a no mod 1 and there was no pushback from the mapping team because like we didn't care. Like we're just trying to get this thing done. So it's just ultimate for experimentation. Ice Call, he was big in the beginning. He did some at the end, but I think he mostly had motivation in 2019. LMT was a constant. His stuff was spread out quite a bit. Real lazy, like he started to really get motivated towards the end. And even started to remap his previous stuff. Like there was this map that I think we were using as a no mod 1, the real lazy no mod 1. So I like how every time we bring up like some meme, it's always the no mod 1s, right? Anyways, yeah, he remapped that. Like he remapped several things, and just kept shitting out like really good stuff. Especially when he collabed with his bro Rego down here. You know, at
Oh
five
yeah,
maps,
Oh
5 sets
yeah.
hosted. Whew.
bangers.
Yeah. K-Kip Alt, I think he was also really coming into his own here. Like everyone knows him as like, oh yeah, staple tournament mapper, always great maps. But like, he started here, and I still remember like people pointing out Cadena, like a lot of people like that map, but they hated playing it in tournament. But he's gotten that balance. So uh, this is where I started mapping like crazy too, because if anyone had known my maps up to this point, I think I had 5 ranked maps in 2019, and so then I just had a bunch more in 2020 because I made so many. I also got to like to try all this different stuff. And I had so many like maps I was proud of in Open 2020 that I was really able to just like start pushing out maps. So I mean I didn't even think I was capable of making this many maps, but here we were. Although I will say I think I had to basically remap 2 of them because I snapped them wrong. Like it was rough. I snapped one as one to purple ticks when it was actually like 3/8 swing or whatever. That was abandoned shrine party, and then the other
Oh
one
yeah.
was extend ash where I snapped the whole thing to 1/4 and it was actually a 1/6 song. I was like, oh.
You're like one of the few people that still map Toho.
Oh, I will never stop. I will stop mapping, but I will never stop mapping Toho. Yeah. Um yeah, let's see what else we got here. We got Spartan. Spartan was he was really good at getting us some of those anime things. He had some edgy stuff, ultimately didn't make it. Advisors and test players decided they were kind of dog, unfortunately. So they were like, to them it was dog, so we had to do something about it because that meant that the players were probably going to hate it, and we cared a lot about that as much as we could. So
I actually remember a few maps from L tier. They were really nice, like especially the SSH map, Major Demon, I think it was the name.
oh yeah.
Like that one was really good.
Yeah, that one was cool. Yeah, so Elchier is who I like to call. I still call him the constant, right? So Elchier is this guy was, I'd say, he wasn't like he's not like the standout mapper like a lot of these. Like a lot of these are like household names at this point. Like LMT, really easy. Like Ice Call was huge back then, etc. etc. Like a lot of these are household names, but Elchier's not really one of those. He kind of like he makes like a simple style. You know what you get, but he is the constant. He's always there when you need him. Like he'll always map like, and he'll do what he needs to do 100% of the time. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. Like Elchier, he'll show up. That's it. Uh, then we got Impure Pug here. Now Pug was this guy was he was like a sleeping. He was like a sloth. But once you got him to actually produce, like he produced. But I will say there was a map that I had to ping him I think 37 times before he actually went and sounded it. It was kind of crazy, but either way, he did a lot. He had a fair share of fun stuff, so good to have him.
That Rita map was a banger.
Yeah.
Except
Yeah.
the timing was like, oh my god.
Oh yeah. We also had the Pug DT pool like in
Oh,
quarters,
yeah.
like this.
Oh yeah.
This is legendary. This is peak right here. No other tournament will ever do this because obviously like it's the same thing as like the Yaspo no. This pool was actually unhinged. We had Yaspo no mod 1 and Yaspo no mod 2, and then we had triple Pug DT, dude. We just
Oh, there's also Yaspo and no mod.
oh
Yeah, yes,
no,
god.
no mod 6 too. Okay, wait. This map was iconic.
Oh, this was the best map, I think.
Yeah, that was multicolored. Holy shit. What was this pool? Oh, speaking of fun stuff, like this tiebreaker, this was a cake of a Spartan tiebreaker before, but it was been before because they mapped I'll go IDES, and I was like, you're not mapping that shit for Corsace. So they speed mapped this Asriel song, and it was like pretty solid. Like, there we go, we got it. But oh my god. This pool is unhinged. Quarters Corsace Open 2020. Reference this one. This is a history book pool. You'll never see another pool like this.
Oil.
Holy shit. Yeah, back to stats. Yeah, no. So Nana Abe, he made his debut here. With the idol stuff, like that helped to fill out a lot of the slots that, frankly, no one else would have ever wanted to map. So thanks, bro. You got Rego, Melvoin coming in hot. This was when he made his debut, especially on some of the more fucked up maps.
Oh yeah, grand finals, Hard Rock.
The grand finals is really where Melvoin came in. Like we had a map. We had to map this. We had to map 2 maps in Hard Rock. Oh my god.
Both of them were psychotic.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was kind of cooking on the pool specs. Not gonna lie.
Wait, the Hard Rock 3 one was the slider thingy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then we got Rego, and Rego was always popping off. Like, you know what Rego maps? He felt right at home here at Grand Finals with this, discontrolled galaxy like thing. I don't know, like he was there for all the tech. He was there on like half the real easy maps. Like, you just know. And yeah, like, Devious Panda made debut. Boar came in hot for some of the Gimme Gear stuff. Nagi Sakawa for some of the anime. Scub did something. I forgot what he did, but he did something. I know he made some maps. Oh, he made an alt map in round of 16. Zelk, and then like the rest was basically like donated or a bunch of stuff.
They showed up in the early stages and then kind of like when they kind of died and let the project rot in the corner, I guess.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of Devious Panda, Uh, in my opinion, the map he made for round of 16, I think, is the best one out of all maps. But that's just my opinion.
Damn, high praise. Yeah, a lot of people like that. They liked it so much that they wanted every Nomad 6 ever to be like that for 2 years.
The rhythm
Oh,
Yeah.
curse.
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like when we talk about impact of this, like, so these maps were really good. Like, again, you had a very small selection of mappers, so you knew that you were getting like really good mappers, really good quality overall. And even if they didn't fit in exactly what you wanted in the pool slots, they were good. Um, However, that led to its own problems of they all a lot of them had really distinct styles. For example, like Ice Cult, like you know an Ice Cult map when you see it. And if you don't like Ice Cult maps, then that means you're gonna hate playing the tournament because you have an Ice Cult map or two or three every single week. So you still have that issue. And so that led to it being a much more I'd say a much more inclusive process, but as a result, like that means that the quality definitely did go down a bit with it, or just to say it lightly. Some mappers think that I was like, oh my god, half the maps are dog shit. I think I heard that for the next year pools, but the exclusivity is like you can manage it, but it also means that you're likely going to end up with this kind of distribution of yeah, you keep it really exclusive, but it's going to be like 5 or 10 people doing almost all of the work, and then everyone else does like something here or there. But really trying to do this large scale project with very small amounts of people is quite hard. That's why we haven't really gone back to the roots. Like, people talk about Open 2020 being so good, but at the end of the day, we can't like go back to that. It's like be glad that it happened, but you don't want to keep doing
Yeah,
that.
it's so much time investment from everyone, not only like the map poolers, but also the like the people that create the maps themselves. Like everyone is getting kind of old now these days, I would say, has their own responsibilities. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like based off of this, you started hearing like the sentiment of like a tournament map. This map feels like a tournament map or whatever, whenever sometimes players would be playing it and posting in map pool feedback or something like that. And I feel like that was a consequence from the very inclusive pool of mappers that Corsace Open had, because since this pool was kind of meta defining kind of almost for the map pools that came after that, and it was basically made off of like a very small amount of mappers. So I think that was like basically like one of the consequences of this pool.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, all right. Yeah. Anyways, I'll split these off into a separate sheet, and we'll link these stats in the description just for those of you curious. There's a lot of beauty here. We had some spreadsheet magic. And yeah. I think more or less we've covered everything though. Like this was open 2020. 2 years in the making. Like once in a lifetime sort of everything comes together, and we just we go forward. But I don't think we have anything else to discuss. So
I think
yeah.
there's like one more thing. So
Okay.
um I think around like when Courses Open 2020's registration started or something, we were initially gonna do something like group stage, and at some point within the registrations, I think, or something like that, we had to switch from like group stage to qualifiers because I didn't know at the time that all the tournaments now were doing qualifiers, and Courses Open 2018 did group stage. So there was that. I don't remember how that affected the pools, but yeah.
I remember. Now I remember. So we actually asked AJT to pool something for us. So he solo pooled the qualifiers, and then for the stuff he couldn't find maps, two of our mappers were so motivated that they had to get their maps out there. And that was those were really easy and Spartan, which is like, like Spartan was like, he got his alt map together. That was like the first custom alt map that anyone's seen. They were like, holy shit. Like, some people loved it, some people hated it. I was a hater, but I didn't care. We got it out there. Like, then there was the Relazy No Mod 2. Also, some people loved it, some people hated it. I was a lover. We got the maps out there, man. But yeah, they were they pulled stuff together. And I think there was one meme in that pool where we had a map that wasn't hit sounded. Oops, but that was before that standard. So yeah, check out the qualifiers pool. We've got all of the pools for every Corsace archived at the front channel in the Corsace Discord server. So check that out. I completely forgot about that qualifiers move over. Yeah, it was a group stage pool, not round of 32. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Holy
I forgot
crap.
about that.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like a last minute thing that happened.
Yeah, it's funny too, because it's like, because like now things are like with a new format, we're bringing back a group stage. Obviously, it's a different like usage, but we're bringing it back, and it's kind of interesting in that sense. How it's like, with the trend was qualifiers, we've all moved to that trend, and it's just like now years later, we're now bucking that trend. We're going back. We're like really looking at, what does this format really do for us? And then we're going forward. So. Yeah.
You.
Oh God, dude, I love Corsace Open 2020, man. We'll talk. I could go for hours on this, but I got stuff to get to. You got stuff to get to. The viewers have stuff to get to. We got to move. So
Yeah, it was a very fun project, and even though it was a pain in the ass sometimes, but I'm quite happy we pulled it off.
oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm glad it happened. So as far as the rest of the Corsace saga, next episode we're going to be talking about Corsace closed. So stick around for that. Different panel of guests. And yeah. So any last thoughts before we sign off? Kite, Vinxus?
Nothing that I can think of. Just hoping we go strong in the future. Like you guys, I'm out of the scene basically.
Awesome. All right. Well, I heard some voice. I
Oh
heard a
yeah, I was
voice.
gonna say Corsace Open 2023 is actually gonna be coming out pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes, but yeah, it should be around sometime within this month. Hopefully,
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
that's nice. I'll look forward to it then.
yeah, it's gonna be very soon.
Oh,
Hopefully,
it's coming. Yeah, it's already showing up in my sleep. So, no, I'm just kidding. All right, anyways, so that has been Full Circle with half slashed Kite Vinxus. See you all next time for Corsace closed on the Corsace saga.